Is that going to be available?
So let me follow up with the person who uploaded. Okay, I think there is some backlog that is not yet gone.
This is Ankur, and I'll be taking a session today on backtracking. So basically, it's I mean, in backtracking, what we are going to cover is basically a technique. A subset of problems called base case and build, and that range of problems that this covers is actually many. For example, if you have seen lead code, there are some problems called subsets 1, 2, 3, 4, combination 1, 2, 3, permutations 1 and 2, generate parentheses, letter tile possibilities. There are like a lot of questions which can be solved using base case and build, and I'll be covering that technique. And 3 weeks back, I actually explained backtracking and tried data structure, like basics of it. And I mean, that recording has not been uploaded, but it was a great session. And once it is done, I'll be sharing with you. And this session is actually a follow-up on that. Okay. And we'll be actually starting with this question. I wanted to start with a question and then explain the concept, and then take more questions on that so that you guys understand. I'm sure you guys must have solved this question on subsets to combinations, but here I want to explain how easy it can be solved using if you can visualize how this can be solved using a tree. I mean, backtracking is nothing but a tree generation. That's it. If you can keep that into your mind, backtracking will become very easy to solve, and that is what we are going to do today. So this is the question we'll be looking at today, which is this is a bit of a tricky problem. So if you guys if you figure out how to solve this one, then we can actually dig into what is actually happening. And I'll be using Python. And I need, out of all 13 participants, right? Okay, 9 participants, I need someone. I need constant interaction. So to solve this question, because interaction, by interacting, right, you guys will understand more what is happening. And this is not going to be just where I'm taking a lecture and you guys are just listening. I need constant interaction. And also I hope you guys have joined this one. If not, I'll be screen sharing, but if you guys want to scribble something, you can join this link which I've shared on the Discord channel, right? And I've also enabled scribbling. You guys can do note on whatever you want. So is everyone able to see this?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. And from all the guys here, who has done backtracking before, or just started backtracking but not sure about what backtracking is all about? Who wants to come forward and help me solve this question on letter tile possibilities? Is there any one? Or someone who has already done this question and knows? Okay, so no one is coming forward. Okay, so let me explain this then. Okay. So can someone help me understand what is this question, letter tile possibilities? So basically you're given some tiles. So basically A, A, B, right? So basically you have tiles and you have letters written on it. You have A, you have B. And the question says that you need to generate all possible possibilities of, what do you say? Basically you have to generate all possible subsets of A, B, and you have to return the total number of subsets. And it does this A, B, when you return all the subsets, it doesn't have that empty combination. So that's the question. So A, B, you can have A, B, A, B, B, A, and you cannot have A, B twice, even though A is repeated. So you can have only A, B once. Similarly, B, A, B is also once, because you can have if A and A were unique, you'll have one more A, B. You cannot have that. So it's unique. A, B, A. So you have 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So similarly, there are so example 3, tiles equal to V. Output is only 1. A, B, B, C, 188. Right? So we have to solve this question. So does anyone have any idea how to solve this one? Has anyone solved this question before?
think many you might have solved. Yeah, but would be a good to refresh it again. Yeah.
Uh, so I need someone who can help me, who has not solved this question and wants to try, because that's the only way for you to understand this question. Once you understand this, backtracking is like done. It's like you'll be able to solve any backtracking problem. Any. Except I'm not considering solving Sudoku or solving Minesweeper or solving 8 queens or solving all those big questions, but basic backtracking, most of the questions on backtracking LeetCode you'll be able to solve. I need someone who's volunteering to learn here.
You can
Yeah.
start with all the possible coordinates and gradually take the combinations, right? Or even you can use the bits if you want.
So say again?
I'm saying bits also you can use to solve this question, right? But backtracking we have to stick to, right? So you can start with.
Yes. And let's not go. I mean, I don't want to like pollute this with complex things, right? This can be solved using many techniques like bits and everything, but let's stick to backtracking and how to solve this using a tree, and try to figure out using this technique what all questions can be solved, right? I mean, yes, and giving it very simple. So basically, let's say now how do I say it? Now since no one is coming here, now I'll take a different question. I'll explain how this question is similar to the other questions, right? So if you guys can see this, I've opened all the links of all the LeetCode questions that fall into the same category. You must have seen these questions. So this one is the first question I want to take, later tile possibilities. Now you have subsets. So given an array nums of unique elements, return all possible subsets. So you're given 1, 2, 3. Here the question says you need to generate, and here the numbers are all unique. You need to generate all possible subsets. So here also you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. So this is all including the empty subarray, including the subarray, right? And similarly, if you have nums of 0, you return this, right? So this is very similar to the letter tile possibilities. Now you have one more, subsets 2. Now you are given 1, 2, 2, right? Now if you see, it also asks for subsets. It has duplicate elements. You need to generate all possible subsets, and it doesn't want you to have duplicates. Like 1, 2, 1, 2 you can have duplicates, but here you're not here. So this is also exactly similar to letter tile possibilities. Now you have one more, combination sum. You're given some candidates 2, 3, 6, 7, target 7, and you have to generate what? All possible possible solutions, or which, I mean, you have to return an array. You have to return all the arrays, and that array should have candidates with sum to the target, and you can repeat a number. Is this question clear? Combination sum. So this also falls into that category, right? 2, 3, 5. You have to generate 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5, 8, right? And similarly, you have combinations. You have combinations 2, 3. You have permutations 2, and generate parentheses. So all these questions can be solved using the technique I'm going to show today. And it's very simple. It's not a technique that you'll forget in like in a month or 2. You'll remember it for the rest. You'll be remembering this technique for the next 2 years, 3 years, as long as you want. But you don't have to like refresh or anything. Like once this is done, you're done. Okay. So I'll start with the subsets problem. So I'm not sure what is the level of what level people have here. Should I go with this question, subsets, Shashank?
Yeah, you can start from scratch. Like in case somebody has some doubt, they'll chime in.
Okay. So first we'll start with the 78 subsets problem. Right. So what it says is you have nums 1. Okay, wait. Let me know if I'm. Sometimes I write on the symbol, but I forget to share. So just remind me to go there. And what are the subsets here? You have an empty one. You have 1, 2, 3. What else? 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 3, and 1, 2, 3. No, sorry. Do you have 3, 2, 1? Given an array of unique elements, return all possible subsets. Okay, so this one you have So this is a subsets problem in which 1, 2, 3 and 3, 2, 1 are basically the same, and they want to consider they want you to return it only once, right? And this is different from the permutations problem, wherein if this is 1, 2, 3, you'll have actually return 3, 2, 1 as well. Okay, this is very similar, and this is okay. This is returning subsets. Okay, so okay. Okay. Now, okay. Can someone now explain to me how someone would solve? Like, I think should I go with someone who already knows this? So Santosh, so Bhavesh, you want to like help here? Like, I mean, I want to know how you guys solve this. How do you come up with? Like, how do you generate? What is the technique? That is what I want to see. If no one else is trying, like, wants to do solve here. So let's say you are trying to solve subsets. So what do you do here?
You can generate first, like, I mean, what you said, with single element followed by 2 and then 3, right? Let's say you started with 1. So one path will be for 1, then 2, and then 3. Then you can start a for loop from 2 to 3. So 1, 2 will be one combination, 1, 3 will be other combination, then 2, 3 will be other. And then you can, once you got 1, 2, 1, 3, you can append 3 in that, right?
Right. Yes, sir, exactly. So that is how you actually solve these questions. So basically, you so okay. So let's see. So you have okay. So let's say this was not a algorithm question or anything that you didn't have to do any lead code or solve the question. Let's say you just have to draw all the possible subsets on a piece of paper. Like, how would you do that, right? So if you had 1, 2, 3, and you had to generate all the subsets, right? So how would you even start it, right? I mean, first down you so if you had 1, 2, 3, what will you do? First you put down 1, right? I mean, this is a basic
single digit, right? Okay.
Huh?
Single numbers first. Okay.
Yes, I mean, that is how, I mean, by intuitively you generate, right? I mean, I'm just trying to help you to figure out if you get a new question in your on-site or your phone interview, how do you even solve this? Don't think about how you're going to code it. First, try to generate your basic steps, right? So you first put down 1, 2, 3, right? So, I mean, you started with an empty array, right? You came up with 1, 2, 3. Then what else? Then, okay, what are the two? Then you decide, okay, what are the two? I mean, what are the 2-digit problems that I can generate subsets from 1? So you have 1, 2. Yeah, you have 1, 3. Similarly, for 2, you have 2, 3, and from 3,
you don't have anything, yeah, because they're done.
Yeah, I mean here the question says that so how do you say what a subset is? Given an array of unique elements, return all possible subsets. The return must not contain duplicates. Return the solution in any order. So how would you define a subset? So here it's 1, 2, and not 2, 1. So what is 2, 1 here?
Order doesn't matter, right?
2, 1 will be duplicate of 1, 2 because it's of the other order, right?
Okay, so our subset is in which the order. So you're generating combinations, not permutations, right? Not permutations. So this said 1, 2, 3 is exactly same as 3, 2, 1, right? And this is exactly similar to 2, 3, 1. And the idea here is to generate 1, 2, 3 only, right? Because 1, 2, 3 and 3, 2, 1 are exactly the same. So okay, so now you generated 1, 2, 1, 3 and 1, 2, 3, right? Now from 1 to what can you do? You can generate 1, 2, 3. From here you generate 1, 3. Can you do? No, you cannot generate 1, 3, 2, right? Because it's exactly the same. And from 2, 3 also you cannot do anything because 2, 3, 1 and 1, 2, 3 are exactly the same, right? So what? Okay. So I think will it be good if we solve all the questions using just draw all the combinations, generate all the combinations instead of coding this one? Will it help?
Yeah, I mean, you won't.
Okay. I mean, you guys I mean, so everyone, I hope you guys understood what are we trying to generate here. So from 1, 2, 3, we are trying to generate. So here you have 1, 2. So empty array is an answer. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. These are your answers, right? So basically, you start from an empty array and you're trying to generate all the subsets. Now let's see what subsets 2 problems is asking you. Okay, so it says given an array nums that may contain duplicates, return all possible subsets.
You can show the code for subset 1 if you have already some code. Just skim through it once. I mean, if you have, okay, no problem. Then you can go with that. I mean, flow.
Right. I don't want. I just want. I mean, I don't want to jump into the code so far. Right.
Okay.
I just want to show that like what is the technique to solve like on paper and pencil first when you draw it on the whiteboard, right? So that people know that how that code is being generated from that can be generated using that pattern. Okay. And now let's say you have integer array nums that may contain duplicates, return all possible subsets. So if you have 1, 2, 2 and may not contain duplicate subsets. So if you have 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so if you start from 1 to 2 here also, right? So what's okay? So let's say you start from an empty array. What are your possible solutions? Can someone say?
So it will be 1. If it's a single length now, it will be just 1 and just 2 because the other 2 is duplicate of the next 2. So we'll have only 2 combinations.
Okay, and again from what are you doing from 1? Basically, you again do this, right? 1, 2.
Okay, are you showing the scribble pad?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and since from 2, 1, what do? You again get 2, 1. So I think that will be a duplicate. So you do, I mean that will be exactly like similar to 1, 2. So you don't generate it, right?
Right. Yeah.
What else you have?
2, 2.
Okay, from 2, 2 you can also have 2, 2, right?
Yeah.
So that's one answer. And from this one you can have 1, 2, 2. And if you did actually 2, 2, 1 here, that would be a duplicate of this one. So you don't generate that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So if you see, okay, now I'll take one more question, not subset, but a permutations thing. I'll just show you what is actually happening. Okay. So I can show you what is the constant thing here. Okay. Let's say I'll do permutations and permutations 2 also because they are a different type of question, but I'll show you what is happening here. Okay. Now this is the 46th problem, which is permutations. And this says that you are given 1, 2, 3, right? And you have to generate all possible permutations. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, right? So I mean, following with the previous pattern, how would you solve this, right?
Okay.
So you start with an empty one. I mean, there are other techniques to solve this one, but we are working on base case and build here. We are trying to generate all the possible permutations, all permutations of length 3, right? So basically, this would have. So basically, how do you solve this here? You start with an empty array. You start with 1, 2, 3, right?
You have to move to the scribble pad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You start from 1, 2, 3, and then what else? What are the options from 1? I mean, you start 1, 2. You have 1, 3.
1, 3. Yeah.
And from 2, you have 2, 1, you have 2, 3,
2, 3. Yeah.
you have 3, 1, you have 3, 2 here,
Right.
right? And then from 1, 2, you're basically getting 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, right? So now you have all your combinations. I mean, this is how you would solve on a piece of paper when you're trying to generate all possible combinations. I mean, a 5-year-old kid, that is how he's going to generate it. He's going to start with an empty thing. He'll generate all 1 letters and 2 letters and 3 letters. He's building up on the answer that he got before, right? Okay. Now,
so this is a very classic backtracking way of a recursion, correct?
yes.
Yeah, because if you look at the subsets, it's slightly different but if we take the permutations, so backtracking actually is more clear and evident by this approach, right? Yeah.
Yes. So I mean by doing the duplicates question. So this is a recursive problem. This permutations. This is not backtracking. We have not seen. This is not into backtracking yet.
Yeah.
Backtracking basically means that you cut off your branches at some point, right?
you pop it from here, right? When you get 1, 2, you backtrack to here, and then again you take.
No, but that is a simple recursive solution.
Pardon?
That is what recursive does to you.
That is
Right?
what backtrack.
Or DFS. So backtracking means that you go into a path and you figure out there's no way there's no way there's going to be an answer in that after that step. So I'm not going to consider that. So for example, when we set this this question, right? Subsets in which you had duplicates. So sorry, this one 1, 2, 2, right? So you started with an empty one. Then what are your options? You said 1, 2, and 2, but now 2 is being duplicated, right? So you think, okay, 2 is a duplicate, so I won't take this path. So not going into that is basically backtracking.
Okay. No
So
problem.
I mean, you've generated all possible. I mean, that is what classic backtracking actually means.
Okay.
So if you also see that problem on, like, I think Sudoku or something. So basically you try to generate the board and you say, okay, if I generate that board, it's not a valid thing, so I'll not take that path. Or maybe you take a lot of paths and eventually you find out this is not a good path for me to take. So you go back to your, not the previous parent, but maybe back to your root. So that is what backtracking actually means, not taking the path.
Okay.
And recursive or a DFS solution would be taking all the paths and generating all combinations permutation. And the later permutation problems you're going to see on LeetCode, like hard or medium to hard, they are going to be bigger versions of this concept, wherein you take a path, you decide it's not a valid one, you come back. So that is backtracking. It's in there in the board. Okay, so now let's see what backtracking is for this permutations 2 problem. Okay, so this question says, so this is perms.
So can you discuss the time complexity for that?
I mean, time complexity, I mean, it's generating all, right? So basically it's it's always the height of the tree, right? So I mean, one DFS call is going to be, right? I mean, time complexity will be, right? You go from the root, you go to the end. So that will be your 1. Is it a time complexity? So I think that is
height of the tree into number of nodes at each level. 2 raised to the power n into whatever the height of the tree is, right? Will
I
that
think it
look good? Or
okay. So you are saying it's almost n factorial.
I mean, basically it's all possible combinations
Right.
that you get. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 3 to 1, so this is going to be n factorial. And because to generate each combination, you have to go from the root till the leaf. So it's basically it's still going to be n factorial times, but then the time it takes from the root till your base case, I think your leaf is going to be height of the tree. Right. So this is right. I mean, that is what is this the correct way to think about this? Is this Shashank what you said? Who said that time complexity right now?
Yeah, it was Shashank. I think we lost him because of the network. Yeah, that's fine actually. Yeah. So that is n factorial, right? Yeah.
Yes. So let's not. Okay. Yeah. So now let's go into permutations 2 now. So basically this is 1, 1, 2. Okay. So how and your answer is 1, 1, 2. Basically 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. You don't put duplicates here, so you can have 1, 1, 2 twice, but you don't want to take duplicates.
You drawing something because I cannot see. You cannot see.
Okay. Here.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So so starting from the empty one, so how do you generate all your combinations, right? All the permutations. So what are your options? You start from 1, you start from 2, and you also have one more option, but you don't take this option, so this path is gone. I mean, right? What do you do from 1?
Well,
what are your options from 1?
Oh, okay. The second one, can you not take? Oh, you just crashed.
Which one?
The second one, what you were showing, you just crashed it just now, right? You striked it out. So that we should not take as a first tree. Okay.
I mean, you take the first one, but the second one, since it's going to be a duplicate, you cut off that. You don't take that, right?
Okay, no problem. So and
that is how you solve. You start from wait.
On the same level, you cannot take 2 ones.
You
right?
start,
Yeah.
you start from an empty one. You figure out, okay, I need only constant ones. I start from 1, 2, and then from 1, 1 I can have 1, 1, 1. From 2 I can have 2, 1, right? And then I can also have 1, 2 here, and here I can have what? I cannot have 2, 1 again, right? Because that will be a duplicate. And from here, what else? 1, 1, 2. From here I'll have 1, 2, 1, and from here I'll have 2, 1, 1, right?
2,
And if
1,
you
2.
see, sorry?
Yeah. 2, 1, 2. The last one. Yeah.
No, it's 1, 1, 2. The
Oh,
solution.
sorry.
is
Yeah. 2, 1, 1.
1,
Yeah.
2. So if you see here, it's still, so these are the 3 questions, 3 answers that we got, right? Okay. Now, okay. So, so now what? How do I go to the next step now? So, if you guys see here, if you guys see here, what we are actually generating is a tree, right? And this is what your actual backtracking actually means. You start from your root. You are trying to figure out what your and these 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1 are, they are basically your leaf nodes, right? And from the root, you're trying to go to your leaf nodes. And the way you do is by doing recursive, like DFS calls. Like tree, that is what you also do in a tree. Like you use your parent. So can anyone explain how do you go from this to a tree, like a recursive?
Are you showing on a scribble or?
No. So basically, what I just showed is that you drew your answers. Okay, I start from empty. I go to 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. So I know we are going to the backtracking template, or how to solve this using trees or backtracking. But now I'm just trying to ask, what is the intuitive way to understand that from this you figure out, okay, now I have to go and do a recursive solution. Where is recursive here? And how do you even speak that out?
Recursive, that is recursive only, at each level of the tree you're creating new nodes and appending the element, right? I mean, at first level it was
recursive means first, yeah, right. So you first level you are taking a single element, and the rest of the elements you are pushing to the next level, right?
And at a third level you again push the elements, and once you find the length of the leaf and original array same, you take it as your answer.
Yeah. So at the end you will see a base case wherein you will say that you are reached the end of that array, or whatever your search path is. And
Okay.
Then you do return from there.
Okay, so now let's circle back to the first problem that I started with. Now you guys understood. Whoever is new to this, all sets of problems, or who have not run backtracking before. So all these questions can be solved using. Basically, we eventually ended up drawing trees, right? And so to understand backtracking, you need to have a solid idea how trees work, right? What your roots are, what your nodes are, what DFS is, and you also need to know what what is recursive, right? So I just gave you what is actually required for backtracking. Now
Can
let's
I ask sorry for interrupting. Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are building tree, yeah, and each level we add one more element to our node, yeah. And what is the algorithm? How do we add one more element?
Yeah, we have not gone into that yet.
Okay.
I've not gone into that. I'm trying to explain all that. I'll go into that one, but I'll circle back to the first question now that I started with. So basically, it was the tile header possibilities, right? So this also had, let's say, so the only difference from this and the previous one was these are letters, and the previous one were numbers, right? If you had A, B. Okay, so how would you generate all your possible sequences, basically your subsets, right? And also when you're doing a subsets, you're also generating permutations, and all your subsets should be unique. So here, right? So when we had, let's say we had 1, 1, 2, right? You had 1, 2 only once, and 2, 1. Wait, let's forget this. Okay.
So you are
now
going
from-
to the scribble pad, right? So could you share that?
Yeah,
please?
yes. Okay. So now we start from A, B,
Uh-huh.
right? Okay. Now, can someone help me draw what is going to happen? Like, okay, we start from the empty array. What are we going to have?
Yeah, we can
A.
have first A and B. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you are go ahead, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and from A, what do? You generate
A.
and then you have AB. You have one more AB. So basically, this is your AA and this is your AB, right? And from B, what can you have? You can have only one A, right? And let's say from here you can have one more B, right? So it will become AB here. This will become ABA, and this will become BA by adding one A, right?
Yeah.
So
PA is also the answer. I think you missed one.
no, you got right. B, which one?
BA. You.
I mean, yeah. So this one is BA.
Oh yeah, that is.
Yeah. So yeah. So this one is BA. So basically, you got all your answers now. So basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So
And in this case, we are not taking that empty into consideration, right?
empty, no, yeah. That's what the question says. So basically, and also you need to return the length. So I mean, I do generate all possible combinations and I return length -1.
Okay.
Or right? So so now my question is okay, now I'll give you okay, 1 second. Laptop is having 1 second. Okay, so so if you guys see here, what is happening here is you start. So this is eventually becoming a tree, right? And so I'll just show you what we are actually doing here is we are generating a tree, right? And it starts from your root. What is your root? Your root is nothing but an empty array, right? And from your root, what do you do?
Yeah, root actually we keep adding one element, first one element for each, whatever is non-duplicate.
Okay, so basically this will be a node, this will be a node, right?
Node.
And basically what you're doing is you're trying to touch your leaf nodes. You're trying to touch your leaf nodes, right? And the way you do that, I mean, and as soon as you get your leaf nodes, you're done. I mean, basically you add into your result, right? So that was, I mean, basically in all the questions that we saw till now, you are doing the same thing. You start from your root, you keep generating nodes, right? You keep generating your nodes. So your mid-level ones are also nodes. Even your end results are also nodes. And you figure out what you want to add into your result. I mean, if the question says that you only need to generate all permutations like of length 3, you only add to your result only what you get at the end. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? If it says you need to generate only all permutations, then you add to your result only those nodes whose length is size 3, right? Or if the question says you need to add all, so as you're doing DFS, just keep adding to your result. Keep adding all your nodes.
Okay.
Right? So eventually everything comes back into a tree. Right? Okay. Now, let's say you're at a particular node, right? Let's say let's say you start from the root. Now, what are you doing here? How do you generate all the nodes? I mean, let's say you're sitting at this node, right? Or let's say you're at let's say we are circling back to the letter tile possibility. Let's say you're only at A, right? So what are your possibilities here? So how do you figure out what are the other nodes that I can go to?
So I look for whatever is remaining in my input string other than this element.
No. So basically, I mean that's correct. But basically, what we're doing is, if you are sitting at a node, right?
We want to create the child nodes.
Sorry.
So you are saying we want to create the next level of nodes.
Yes, and so I mean, and now we are actually trying to decide what are going to be our branches. Where's branches now, right? So basically, here at each node, you're trying to figure out what are my candidates. Right? What are the things that I can add to this node? What are my possibilities? So basically at each node, you're going to find out what are your possible candidates. So here at when you are at A, now obviously, I mean, we said we can have only one A, we can have only one B, because if we had one more A, that would be a duplicate, right? So here your candidates is A and B, right? And you don't have A. So similarly, let's say you're standing at 1, 2, right? So what are the possible candidates? So it's only 3, because that is the only one that is remaining, right? And so if you do, you'll get only 1, 2, 3. And now if let's say you had 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're sitting at 1, 2, and you had to generate 1, 2, 4, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So at 1, 2, what are your possible candidates? You either start from 3 or you can start at 4. Basically, you don't do 1 and 2 because those are already eaten up. So what are your candidates here? These are only 3 and 4. Right? So that's the first thing. What are your candidates? Right? And then once you figure out what the candidates are, then you actually loop through your candidates and you start a new DFS. Fine. So let's say, so basically, if you guys remember this thing for candidates, what do? You do a new DFS by including this candidate, by taking this path, right? So what is that happening? So basically now by doing a DFS, you're actually starting a new tree beginning. I mean, not a new tree, but you're following that path now. So basically, if you're at 3, now you take this path. Now, if you're at 3, what are your possible candidates? Only 4 is remaining, right? So for candidates candidate in candidates, only 4 is left. So you start a DFS by taking this candidate into the picture. You add it into your buffer or whatever, right? So that's the first thing. At each node, you figure out what are your candidates valid at that step. And once you know what your candidates are, then you take the next step, right? Okay. Now there are 2 things happening here. Now for candidate and candidates, is everyone following till now? People, if I just call out Ankita, Ashok, DS Algo, GK, Jaya. If you guys have any doubts, make sure you're getting it cleared right now.
I think Nick has a question, right?
Yeah, Nick has a question.
Yeah, Nick.
No, I just want. No, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Sorry. Yeah. I think your previous question is.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand how is it an answer for my previous question.
What? Yeah, I'm trying. I'm not. So this is the algorithm that we're trying to come up with.
Okay.
Your algorithm is what the end answer is going to be, and we're trying to reach there. Right? You don't start what your algorithm is at the start. You try to build up to your algorithm.
Okay. No.
We are going up till there.
So till now, I think whatever you said about the way you are actually correlating all this backtracking or whatever with the tree structure, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but the thing is, no matter how many questions you get in permutation, combination, or backtracking, if you are able to break that into a tree, it'll make a lot of sense. And now you'll see why it's going to make sense. Okay. Now, now let's say and I'll just repeat it because, okay, now we are at A, right? Again, what are your possible candidates? It's only A and it's only B, right? Okay. So here, what do you, okay, now let's say you're at B. What are your possible candidates?
So B, you have.
I mean, you had A,
more,
B.
Yeah.
So it's only A here.
Yeah.
Here it's only B. Right? So at each step, at each node, you're trying to figure out what the candidates are. Okay. And once you figure out what your candidate is, you do a DFS. So now let's go back to A. Right? Now, when you are at A, you figure out what your candidates are. You took a candidate, you started a DFS from that point. Right? So that is what actually DFS means. You start a DFS, you keep going down, right? And once you're down, once you build up ABA, right? And once your DFS is done, you come back, then you start a new, then you, let's say you go back here, then you're going to start a new DFS from A, you go back down, and this is going to again back up, and then that is what tree building or DFS is all about, right? Is this clear?
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay. So now, okay, now how do I say? you guys use Python or do you? I mean, I think today we'll use the same thing. What is it?
Yeah, we have all people with different platforms. Many of them use Python.
I think we'll use
or
Python,
Java.
and I'll make sure I'm not using a helper method, because usually I actually use helper methods. I mean, helper method. Sorry, methods. Helper method would be inside my main method. But here I won't have a parent, like a child method inside one. I'll keep it at the same level. Okay.
No worries. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And so what else do I need to say?
About the base condition right now.
Base.
And also, how do you like consider your candidates?
Yes. So yes. So that is what I'm trying to think. How do I go to that level? Go to that answer. So basically, okay. Now now the first thing that I think Shashank mentioned here is now whenever you're considering a tree, right? Always think about your base cases. Not only a tree. Basically, a tree means tree is nothing but a DFS solution, recursive solution, backtracking solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these things, especially so, and all they all are coming from recursive solution, right? Always think of what is your base case. So base case is nothing but your stopping point. When am I going to stop exploring my tree? That is your base case. So, there are always two base cases. When are you going to stop exploring your tree? So these sometimes are your leaf nodes, right? Either your leaf nodes or one more base case. Sometimes you can also say a base case or one. It's not exactly a base case, but it's a point wherein you decide I'm not going to take that path, right? Or I'm going to just stop at that path, because if I take that path, it's going to lead to an wrong solution. So basically, if you start from A and if you take one more, let's say you took A and let's say you started one more A. So that will lead to a bad solution, because now you're doing one more A. So, so that would be not exactly a base case, but where you cut off, right? So this is basically your cutoff point. And your third is, let's say you, what is your other thing? Base case would be.
I think these are the only two, right? Leaf nodes or one which you don't want to go the actual path, right?
Yeah. So basically, there are two things. One is called so in suppose you have an array, right? Like let's say you have a 2D array or M into N matrix, right? Here you are, and let's say you're starting from a start point and you're going to the end. So here your base case is going to be you start from the root, which is S. You're going to explore all possible routes. You're trying to reach till E, right? So here your leaf node is going to be only one, which is E, right? So as soon as you touch E, you're done. So that's your base case. Right? And let's say from S, right, you can take 4 directions: up, down, left, right. But there are 2 directions in which you go out of your matrix. Right? So those are the points where you don't want to take that path. So those are of your out of bounds point. So if you do a DFS and you figure out you landed up a point which is actually not inside your not a valid thing, you cut off. So that is your base case. So out of bounds, right? So once you I think base case, the meaning of a base case means you found your solution, or so there are 2 things. So there are 2 ways to generate your trees. One is top down, and one is bottom up.
But if you are going the recursive way, it will always be top down, right?
No, but sometimes it's like you're breaking down your let's say you're doing wait, what was that? Let's say you have a big string and you're trying to break that down into multiple parts, or like you're trying to convert that into single letters, right? Let's say you have Ankur and you're trying to generate all possible single letters from your Ankur, right? So there are 2, so eventually you want to go to ANKUR, right? These will be your leaf nodes, right? I'm just giving an example in which you're trying to take your root is you're trying to break down the problem into multiple parts. So for example, let's say you are trying to what do I say?
So you are saying that you reach the leaf, then you want to actually take that whatever path you have followed, there's an answer and return, right? So that will be your base case. So you have reached the leaf.
So base case, I'm coming to the point wherein, one is you're generating from small to the up, like you're building upon smaller answers. Another thing is you're breaking down your bigger problem into smaller problems, and you're as soon as you reach to the smallest possible problem, whose solution that is going to be your another base case. So, for example, if you're doing Fibonacci series, right? Let's say you're trying to generate the Fibonacci series for what? For n equal to, let's say you're given n equal to, let's say 122, right? You're trying to generate from 122. So how do you do that? You're trying to find out a solution for what is the next number after 122, right?
So from the lower to the higher. So therefore you are saying that will be bottom up. Okay, that makes sense then.
Right. So basically, if you forget about the DP solution or whatever, this is going to be Fibonacci of 121 plus Fibonacci of 120, right? And eventually you break up 121 into again 120 and 119. You break up this, and eventually you go down to. Now you think if you never had a base case, this will keep dropping down, and this will keep going to negative infinity, right? You might go up to minus 100, minus 1,000, minus a billion. So you need a base case. Base case means where are you going to stop? So there will be going to base case, and base case means we know what the solution for f of 1 is and f of 0 is, right? Because you always start from 0, 1, right? And then you start from 1, then you start from 2, then you have 3, but you know the answer for 0, 1. So these are your base case. So basically, as soon as I reach this point or this point, I'm going to return. So that's going to be a base case. So that's why I said there are two, either top down or bottom up. One is you build from empty, you go till the higher, or you break up your big solution and you try to build up, you try to break down into smaller solutions, right? So that was your base case. Now, so your base case is done. Okay, now that's it. So your base case is done here, right? You have generated for candidates and candidates. That's all. That's your whole algorithm, right? Okay, now. So Nick, this is what you wanted, right? The algorithm. Is Nick still here? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so let's solve the letter tile possibilities. Have you done this problem before, Nick? Or have you done any of these problems before?
Yeah, but it's not nice to understand more and more each time.
Okay. So we are looking at this solution. Let's put the okay. So okay. So now there are two things that I already mentioned, right? First is your base case, right? Second thing is your candidates, and then you start a DFS. That is what you have. A DFS. Basically, you are actually doing a DFS, right? And DFS by considering that candidate, right? And also in a tree, just notice what are the things that are happening. You figure out what the candidates are, right? And after you do a candidate, you do a DFS. That's all. All your backtracking gets converted into these 3 steps. That's all, right? Okay. Now,
there is someone in the chat saying, sorry to interrupt you, Ankur.
Yeah.
He is saying that he has done subset 2 problem and combination 2 problem to answer your question. Yeah, he is also Ankur Agarwal. Yeah. Okay.
Who? Nick?
No, Ankur. There is another Ankur Agarwal. He actually.
Oh, okay.
said in the chat to answer your question. He has done the subset 2 problem.
Okay. So also the thing I've noticed here is, I prepared backtracking like 2 years back, and after that I've been seeing that people actually go to LeetCode, they memorize what the pattern is without understanding how, like, they just memorize that. Most candidates actually do. They memorize the pattern, and when they see a new question, they go to LeetCode, they try to solve the solution, and whenever they see a question wherein you have to remove duplicates, they have no idea what is going on, how to eliminate duplicates. They try multiple things till they get the answer. And when they have done it, they go back and they try to see, oh, I should have removed duplicates. Then they go to the next question without understanding what actually happened. Our aim is, okay, the session today is related to how do you solve your questions on an on-site, because on a phone interview, I mean, on-site also meaning that you don't have a compiler sitting there that is actually going to compile all your test cases or run your test cases. What your interviewer is actually going to try to see is, can this candidate or this guy write the correct answer algorithm on the piece of paper and get it right at the first step itself, right? That is what, because he's not going to run your test cases. And that is what our goal is. First attempt, we need to write the perfect code and make sure that it runs, right? Because we are not going to see, our candidate is not, the interviewer is not going to give us an ID for running all the test cases like LeetCode does, right? And this is what this session is all about, writing a perfect code in the first attempt itself. So that is why I started from the root. I told you what at each step we are actually doing, trying to figure out in a backtracking, what are your candidates? You loop to the candidate and you start a new DFS from that point. If you figure out, then that's it. I mean, then let's go another, dig down one more step to figure out how do you even write perfect code? How do you remove duplicates? What is each DFS actually doing, right? Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's very important what you said. Yeah.
Yes.
Because usually what happens whenever we work on LeetCode, we know LeetCode is going to take care of all the stuff. But if you do a whiteboarding session, how perfect you need to do and be very effective in the interview, that makes more sense. Absolutely.
Yes. I've been taking backtracking for the past week with my own study group, and they have loved this idea. After this idea went, they were able to do a bunch of questions, and they all sent me the tree that they drew. And they all said, Ankur, thanks for this explanation of converting this into a tree. We were able to solve all the backtracking problems by visualizing into a tree. And that actually helped them a lot. And that is why I wanted to review this instead of taking sliding window today. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, one more thing. The Ankur Agarwal is typing in the chat. I would request him to speak up if he has any questions. Yeah, Ankur, if you have any questions.
Like Ankur Kodhai is saying that like initially I was like accustomed to use sets and multi-sets like that, so to avoid duplicates. But then when we see discuss section, like we get to explore many things like that how the people are like avoiding duplicates by using only skipping some unnecessary test cases, unnecessary cases with the help of if and else statements. So if we use sets, then it is not an efficient solution. So interviewer may not be impressed by that. So that was I'm sharing with that chat.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, exactly. So we are trying to figure that out. Like, so the way to understand that is by drawing the tree, right? And also, if you actually see when you're actually doing backtracking, you are doing two things. You are working on, so let's say you are at A, right? And you generated A and you generated B, right? So what is A and B? That is nothing but working on that same level. So that is nothing but breadth first, not breadth first actually, but you're looking at that level, right? And what else are you doing? So when you're doing for candidates, what are your candidates? When you're looping through the candidate, not looping, you're trying to find your candidates. What you're doing is you're working on that same level when your parent is A, right? And what do you do then? Then you started DFS from B. That's the only thing. Find your candidates. That is what is that doing? Candidates meaning from that for that node, right? And what else? And then you do a DFS. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now I'll just write down the code for this letter tile possibilities, right? So letter tile possibilities, and for A, B, I just write down what you need to generate. You have A, you have B, AA, AB, you have BA. What else you have? AAB, BAA, and you have ABA.
ABA, yeah.
Right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So let's say you start from your root. Okay, should I write down the code for this? Okay, now also remember what I'll write down the code. Also try to visualize what is happening at each level. Right? Now let's say this is your result in which you're trying to add all your results, right? And let's say this is your what do I say? You also use a buffer. This is always, I mean, since what we mean by buffer here is we start from the root, here you have an empty array, right? And let's say you start from A, you go to B. Here your solution is going to be B. Here your buffer is going to be only A. Then you start from B, you go to, let's say you add A. So here your buffer is going to be BA. This is going to be a BAA, right? And here, let's say you don't have anything here basically. Yeah. And so from here you have again A, you have B. Here your buffer is going to be AB. This is going to be ABA. This is AA. And here this is going to be AAB, right? So that is what I'm using a buffer for, or a string. And always remember, always make sure your buffer is, I mean, in Python, make sure it's an array, or if you're using Java, make sure it's string builder and not a string, right? Always remember that, because you don't want to create multiple strings on your heap, and by using string builder, you're just changing one string. I think internally it's also using an array or something. Always use a string builder when you're using an array. Fine. Now let's say you used a buffer, and what else do you do here? Okay. Now one thing. First thing. Now when you generated this tree, right? Okay, this tree root. You started from AB, ABA. Okay. Now tell me one thing. How did you generate these candidates first? How did you figure out what are the candidates here? How did you figure out that there's only one candidate? How did you figure that out? Nick?
Are you asking about first level of tree, yeah?
Say again?
If we are talking about first level of our tree, we can just take each element from source array.
So how do you do that? Remaining from where? I'm not getting what you're saying, but is it what you said, like unique ones? How do you figure out that you have generated AB here? I mean, let's say you're standing at A, right? And you generated A and B, but at this B you only generated A. So how do you figure out that what are your candidates?
I should take everything that I have not take.
You have not seen. You mean where?
Yes.
Seen where?
On the previous level, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So guys, I mean, is that clear? So I mean, when you're looking at the candidate, so basically, okay. Now let's say you're at the last level. I mean, the previous last level. So what are your options from A? There's only one, right? There's only B here. From here, there's only A here. And let's say this was B, and you are left with only A. So what you guys are saying is that for generating the candidates, what you're saying is what I've seen before. Okay. So how do you make sure that, what is your scene? Okay, you're saying you use a scene set, right?
You use a scene set, or actually, as you said, we already have a buffer, and also we maintain some sort of an index, maybe. For each and every level, when we are going down, we increment that index.
What will that give you?
So it will give me the whatever is remaining in my.
So okay, so
string,
if you started from B, okay. Now let's say you had A, you had B. This is 0, this is 1, 0, this is 0, 2. You started from B. This is index 2. Now what is your next? What are you passing down? Your index. Okay, I pass in my 2 index. Now what?
Okay, so in that case, how do you handle that, right?
Yes. So how do you figure out that you have to generate A now?
Okay, so you need to remember what you have taken on the top also. So yeah, so you need a visited or seen something like that, a set. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that clear to everyone? So basically, when we are sitting at B, and we are trying to generate, or when we are sitting at A and we're trying to figure out what are these candidates. So it has A and B, right? So you're trying to figure out what your candidates are, right? So, and how do you do that? So basically, you're now let's say you're at this level. Okay, what are your possible options here? It's only B, right? And how do you figure out it's B?
Because you use both A's in your scene.
Okay, right. Okay, so you are saying you're put out in scene. Okay, now what is my scene set going to be?
A at the second level. At the second, that's this one.
Okay.
A will be there, no? So therefore you have created B, no? That's children for A second level. A.
Okay. What about this B? What can I have here?
AB.
No. I started from A. I went to B. What is my possible candidates here?
A.
Only A. Yeah.
Why only A?
Because
No.
say scene has
Already-
AB.
If I've already seen A and I've already seen B, how can I add A again?
Mhm. Okay, so in that case, that will be a different way of doing it. So, okay, if you have a scene, we can use an array also in that case, a visited array, something like that.
Okay.
So you mark the first A, whatever that index it is at, as visited, and then B also.
So
So
what
it-
are you adding into? Okay. You're saying you have an array. What are you adding into your array? Okay.
So I will maintain an array of that size, A, B size. Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
Okay, and you're marking at that first A is visited, second A is visited.
Yeah.
Okay, first A is visited, B is visited. This is not visited.
Right.
Right.
Something like
So you're
that.
Let the
using a
count
set
in-
of indices.
Count is a map.
Okay, yeah. Count
You're
as
using a set of
map.
indices, right? Because basically here you've used 0.
Mhm.
Here you used 2. What are you remaining here? 1 is remaining, right?
One is remaining.
So that's your candidates. So okay. So now what am I using from the previous all the levels? I'm using a scene set of all the indices, and that is going to help me figure out what my remaining candidates are at that level.
Correct. Yeah.
Is that guys clear? That is what is happening. So whenever you're doing DFS, okay, there's one more thing that is actually people. I mean, in the template in which you're adding something to your buffer, right? You add something to your buffer, right? I mean, you do buffer.add or append. You put down the character, right? So that is all. So and what are you doing here? You're doing two things at each level, at each step. You're adding to your buffer, and you're also adding to your scene, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So that is nothing but, I mean, I'm trying to simplify what you're doing at each step. So basically, at each step, you're trying to figure out what have I seen before, and if I've seen something, I'm not going to use that as my candidate. So yeah, so even right now we have not even started beginning coding here, right? Okay. So looking at a point, we figure out, okay, we are going to use scene, a set of indices.
And when we will return from that level, then we will remove that from the scene, no? That will be
Yes.
the
I mean,
step
yeah.
of
So that I'm going into that concept also, but I'm trying to build up. I mean, yes. So that is also we have to do actually. Now I'll explain that also. Okay. So is this point clear to everyone that we are actually appending to the buffer and we are also appending to your scene, and to your scene we are appending index, because that is what is going to help us figure out what our remaining candidates are. Is that clear?
That's very clear. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so basically, this is what you're doing for candidate. Okay, not for candidate. Let's say for I in range. Basically, we are going through all the tiles, right? Or length of the tiles, right? If I not in scene. So Nick, this is your algorithm. I mean, I'm breaking down the algorithm into multiple parts. Okay. If I is not in scene, because that is what we do, right? At each node, we are trying to figure out what are the candidates. And then, so, okay. Now, if I not in scene, what do you do here? You add it to your I, scene.add I, right? Okay. What else do? You do buffer.add, or let's say append. What do you append? You append tiles of I, right? Then you call your helper method or your DFS or whatever. You pass in your scene, you pass in your buffer, and let's say you pass in your tiles also, and you pass in your result. I mean, assuming that it's not that's the helper method is not defined inside your original method. Okay. What should be your next step now?
Ankur said that, right?
What? Just say it again.
You need to remove that from the scene now, right? Okay.
Okay. And what else?
And then I think you should remove from the buffer also.
Buffer.
Yeah. Okay. Is this clear to everyone? I think someone said but.
But not pop, I said.
Sorry,
Buffer
say
not
again?
pop, I said.
He said pop,
I
as
said
you
pop,
said, yeah.
pop, PP.
Yeah, pop. Yeah.
Yeah, pop. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, also, is this concept clear to everyone? Why we're using scene.remove I and buffer.pop?
But
Does
in your
everyone
helper,
understand what a DFS is?
where are you appending the character in tiles?
I'm adding to my buffer.
Okay, got you there. I thought in helper you are using. No, makes sense. Okay.
So in my helper, I'm passing down my buffer.
Buffer, yeah. So it's one.
And yeah, and is everyone has understood what scene.remove and by buffer we are doing? People just remember the template and they do this. But why is it happening? Why do we do that? Can someone explain?
Yeah, could you please show it in your diagram? Yeah, here. Why we are removing? Could you please show in the tree?
So, okay, so let's say you start from your root, right? Okay, what are the options at root? A and B, right? Now let's say what is DFS going to do? Okay, so Nick, tell me what is the path for the DFS? You start from your root.
Yeah, we start from a root A and B.
No. What is the DFS call going to be? The first DFS call.
First DFS call.
You do a DFS, right?
Parameters for first DFS call, yeah?
No, what are you going to call? What is your root? I mean, you start from your root, you do a DFS, you go to
empty.
A.
Empty array. Do you mean empty array? Not sure we understand.
Wait.
I mean, you'll have to append after that, like A and B are the two branches at this level.
Yeah, you put that in the indices in that.
No. That is not my question.
Okay.
We are doing a DFS. Is that clear?
Right.
Yeah.
What is DFS? What is the full form?
Depth
Depth
first.
Depth first. So what does it? What does this mean? Depth first search.
You're going to the next level. Okay.
So okay, from A, where now what? I start from my root. Where do I go?
To
I
A.
go to the next level. That is A.
What is my next level after A?
B.
It will be another A.
So it's going to be A.
Yeah.
What is going to be next after this?
AAB.
Okay. After that,
Backtrack.
So after that, you will return back, right?
I backtrack and then I start from AB, and then I go to ABA.
Correct.
Then I go back, and this is going to be B now. This is going to be BA. This will be BAA.
Yeah.
I go back. Now I cannot do again one more BA. I again go back. I again go back to my root. Is this clear to everyone? What is actually happening in the backtracking?
Yeah, this is clear. Yeah, but you were saying that you wanted to know what you're going to add in the helper method, right? Or
in the helper method. No. I'm in my helper method. Say again. No. I'm asking why are we? I'm just trying to explain why are we removing from scene and why are we removing from the buffer.
Okay. Yeah, this is clear. We have to remove when we come from. Sorry. Go ahead, Neil.
Please go.
Okay. So see next see here. Okay. So we start from root. We go to A. We go to AA. We go to AAB. Is that right?
Yeah, right.
Right. Now when we are at A, we have a scene set. We added 0th index here, right? Let's say we add one more zero. We add one more. So what is the scene set going to be here? 0 and 1.
0, 1.
What is going to be here? 0 and 1 and 2, right? Okay. Now from here, okay. Now let's say we go back here. Right now, we actually now this will start again. And one more DFS call. This is going to be B here.
Yeah.
Right. But what is this? What do you want this to be? 0 and 2.
Yeah. Thank you. It's clear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay. So we are using a scene variable, right? We go down here. As soon as we come up, as we are going up, whatever we are adding, we are removing. We are undoing that DFS call. Is that understood? So everyone said we are undoing the DFS call. So before we do a DFS call, we are adding to the scene variable so that we have started a new DFS. But as soon as the DFS call is done, when we go to the leaf, when we are back, we undo that whatever we added to the DFS call. So that's the reason we are removing from the scene variable. Is it also understood? These are your concepts which are actually required for your when you're doing this coding in your onsite. You have to remember this. And what am I adding to my helper method? I mean, when I'm calling a helper method or DFS call, what am I going to add? And after my DFS call is over, what am I going to remove? Always remember this. If you understand what a DFS call is, you will always be able to do a bunch of questions on LeetCode. You will always remember what is my next DFS call going to have. I mean, in a lot of questions, you are going to use scene visited, right? But in some cases, your scene might have alphabets, it might have numbers. Sometimes you might have to use indices. Sometimes you might have to use something else. By using this, you will always remember what your scene variable is and what each DFS call is going to do. And once you return back, what are you going to undo, right, from your array or from your result. So always remember this. Understand this, that what is happening in a DFS call. That is why you're doing this one. Is this clear to everyone now?
Yeah, clear.
Yeah.
But can I ask a question about buffer? When we add new method to a buffer, we just add to the end of the buffer. Yeah, it will become a last element. But can we do opposite side? Can we use prepend to add each element as the first element of a buffer? Yeah, what will be?
Say again. I didn't understand. Sorry, if someone understood.
You can't prepend because A, B, and B both has to be included into your answer. So you can't prepend. Or you can.
Yeah.
So Nick, so first of all, appending to the array is quick. Prepending to the array is not quick. So prepending to an array is O of n because you append to the first and then you have to move all the elements to the last. So it becomes O of n. And if you append to the last, it's always O of n because you're always taking it to the end of the array. Right? So always never if you have something like removing from the first or removing or appending to the first of your array like 0, never do that. Okay?
Yeah, but it's just a theoretical question. Can we just do prepend and then remove from beginning, not from the
no, but why? It can be done. We shouldn't do that because I just explained you. I mean, if you have an array of 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? What your CPU is always going to do is whenever it's going to, or not even a CPU. I mean, your language, it has its own implementation, right? For appending to an array, it is always going to make sure that your array size is always double of what it is right now. So if it is 1, 2, 3, 4, it's always going to make sure that 4 elements are still remaining, right? That is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And let's say if I wanted to append 5 at the end, all you do is just stick your 5 here, 6 here, 7 here, 8 here. As soon as it's full, your Python compiler or something, it will convert into 1, 2, 3 up to 8, and then it will create 8 more spaces. Always remember this. This is what is going to happen. Now, if you had to add, let's say 16, you append just here. So just see how quick it is. Now see, if you have to append at the front, what will you have to do? You'll have to move 16 here, 8 here, 4 here, 3, and you'll have to create a space here, right? So that's so often. So never ever prepend from the beginning and pop out from the beginning. Never do that. Okay, Nick?
Yeah, okay, it's clear. I asked it because another languages like Scala and prepend list. Yeah, when prepend operation is very cheap, like O of 1. It was not related to Python, but thank you very much that you explained. Yeah, it's clear now.
Yes. Okay. So that's one of your concepts. Okay. Now our problem is not yet done, right? Okay. What are the options at root? A and B, but you had only one A. So you remove this. So you have to remove duplicates. Okay. Now, what are your options at A? Only B?
Now we are going down, right? It should be A again, no?
And
then B.
Okay. So how did you generate B here? Basically, yeah.
Use a for loop, something like that.
I mean, not for loop. So basically, you had a scene set here. You had only 0 here, right? So you figured out that it's okay to add a B. So now your scene is 0 and 2, right? But how did you figure out you have to add a only once? So basically, also when since you're 0, you add 0 and 1 here, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you also have to but at this okay. Now, but when you're at the root, your scene is what? Here your scene is nothing, but here you are adding only A and B once. Okay. Now question. Now okay, you're removing duplicates. Right? Duplicates of what? Characters?
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Duplicate to what? I mean, you're trying to create a what? You're using another scene of what? Of characters? I mean, that is what you're doing, right? At each step, and let's say if you had A, and C, or let's say A and B, you are at root. What are the options? It's still going to be A and B, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now from this next A, what are your options?
So that will be again A, and then yeah. So another B. Yeah.
That's it. And what about from this B?
So in that case, you will have another A, right? Yeah.
Just A. Is this clear? So basically, what are we doing? We are at each level for this parent. We are trying to make sure that all the candidates are unique.
Yes.
Right. Right. So let's say you do a DFS call. You do a DFS of node. What is this node? This node is nothing but this node, right? Right. And then what else did you pass here? You also passed in your scene variable. What is it going to help you to figure out what the candidates are based on what you've already seen? Basically, what you have already seen in that path.
Yeah.
In that DFS call.
Yeah.
Right?
But scene is not going to prevent the duplicates on the same level, right?
Yes. So that's what. So what is one DFS call? When you're doing a one DFS call, you're working on that same level. Is that okay?
Right. So now, yeah, the first, okay, if you go to the first level when you made only A and B, correct?
Yes.
In that case. Yeah. In this. So the very first level after root.
Right. Yeah, this one, right?
You are not using the second A, correct? In this one.
Right.
So how are we in implementation wise, how are we to take care of it?
Yes. So okay. So what was it? So let's say this is your DFS method. This is your node. So basically this is your root right now. This is your scene, which is going to be empty.
Okay.
And you have your result and you have your buffer. Right. Okay. Now what's your code here? For candidate in candidates or for I in range. If I not in scene, right?
Okay.
Then you are doing the logic, right? Right.
Yeah, but you can actually avoid that scene by sorting it. If you sort it and if you compare that.
That I'm not going into that sorting. That is a different thing. That is a trick. But what I'm saying is, what are you going to do here? You're also trying to make sure that your candidates are unique, right? Is that understood that your candidates are unique? You're working when you're at this root. This root is nothing. I mean, when you're starting, so basically when you call a root of DF, you're at root. You're actually calling DFS of root.
Right.
I mean, this is your first step, right? This is how you trigger. I mean, this is how you start. Now you're here. Now you're inside this method. So now it's going. So what is this candidates? It's all the candidates at that level.
Correct.
Right. So when it's going to loop, it is going to loop over A, B.
Correct.
Right. Now you want to remove duplicates. Just remove your duplicates from here. Just use another set called visited equal to a set. And as you're appending, just add appending to your visited.
Okay.
Visited or add.
Set inside that label. Okay. And then you add to it.
Yes.
So if you are not, okay.
Your condition is going to change. I mean, it's going to be if I not in scene and tiles of I not in visited.
Then you add it. Okay. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Right.
Is this clear,
Yeah.
everyone?
Yeah. So that was one thing, how we will be avoiding duplicates. I thought the way Shashank was saying, you were going to sort it, but it's not. So you're
But
going
sort
to
is
use
to
another.
see here. Now, if you have A, B, and if you have, let's say 26 or let's say 1000 characters in this, if you're going to do sort, it's going to be n log n, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's still going to take time. I mean, that will be your first preprocessing. You're going to use n log n. And the way you're using this is, what if your interview says don't use login, don't use sorting. So you have to prepare. What are the different? What is happening? I mean, you have to prepare, right? What is happening at each level? I mean, this is just to help you visualize what is happening when you do a DFS.
Okay.
Once you're clear with this, then go ahead. Okay, now you just say to the interviewer, instead of using set, I'll use sorting. If you're okay with that. And if your interviewer says yes, okay, fine. At least you have given the interviewer as many possible solutions as possible. Now he also understands that, okay, this guy, he knows what he's doing. Because interviewer knows that almost everyone has done lead code, but not everyone has done lead code the way you prepared. And by using this way, you know what you're doing. It's very important to understand what's going on. Okay, one more step. Okay, you added to your visited set, right? Do add. Do you remove from visited? You remember we call DFS.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We remove from scene.
We'll have to remove from that set also. Then
why are you removing from visited?
Okay, not the set, because it is the same level. Okay, got it. Yeah.
So, Shashank, you are saying okay, but Shashank, except Shashank, is this clear to everyone else? So we started from the root, right? So remember this template.
Yeah, it's very subtle difference, but very important. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you can use sorting. I mean, that is what most people do, but that actually, our goal is to get this function right in the first step itself. If you use sorting, there is a way to screw up your test cases, and we have to remove that. Like if you use sorting, you have to use j greater than 0. If j is previous than last, what if you forget your j greater than 0? Then you're screwed, right? So this way, you're not even have to consider edge cases, right? If there's time, I'll also show you how to solve LRU cache in your first step itself. You won't have to figure out for 2 hours what are my test cases, what are my this edge case, that edge case. I can even show you that. Okay. So now you have your root. You start from empty. You have A, you have B, right? So you have removed your duplicates here, right? And you also use scene variable to figure out what has come from before, right? From your parent. What are you inheriting from your parent, right? That is going to be a scene variable. Always remember what are you inheriting from your parent. Whatever you're inheriting from parent is what is going to be used in the next DFS call, and which you'll have to actually undo from your, what you are adding, right? Okay, from A, what you're doing, you're adding again A, and you're adding B here. Why? Because in this call, you have not used B, you've not used the second index. In this call also, you have not used. And you've used 0 here, you have used 1 here. But what are you doing? These are your candidates, and from your candidates, you're removing your duplicates. Right? Now, if you're at A, you're at B. Why B? Because you've used up 0, you've used up 1, only remaining is 2 here. So you're using scene here. What have you inherited from your parent? 0 and 1. So looking into that, you figure out, okay, I'll add 2. But here, you're using the scene set, and also you're using the visited one to figure out, okay, I cannot use A again. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I mean, not A, basically, you cannot use anything from this index again. And then also you're going to see that in your visited, you're not going to use a character again, right? And at each A, you're doing a DFS call. And always remember, when you come back, you have to undo whatever you add into that. So, okay, this is what I'm going to say finally. In your one definition of your DFS, right? Let's say this is your result. You pass in your helper, you pass in your buffer, you pass in your, what else? You pass in your scene. What else do you pass? That's it, yeah. In a single DFS call, you are calling multiple DFSs, right? And also you're looking at that same level. Always remember this, and in a single DFS, you're using the scene variable. that this concept itself will help you handle all the other questions. Now let's say we are going to solve this permutations 2 problem. Okay, now this is different. This is tricky. Okay, let's say we are solving permutations 2. Oh, first of all, is the previous tiles question clear to everyone?
Yeah.
And we have already coded it up.
Yeah.
We have already coded it up.
Right.
And I think in the last week there was one girl. She actually she was implementing tiles possibilities, or I think permutations too, using in Java, right? And I know that, I mean, and what she was doing is actually she was using sorting and also using results, and results was actually a set. So when I told her this technique of using this visited thing, she just showed that lead code, the time that it's going to take. Actually, it's not a good thing to see, look at that, but it actually came down a lot. It was 600 milliseconds. It came down to just 30 milliseconds, just using this visited, and not using sorting and not using a different like result set or something. Okay, so just try that out. It will help you a lot.
Okay.
Okay. Should I now take this question? I think we are like what? We started at 9 o'clock.
We are almost to the end of the yeah. So maybe we can take a quick one.
Okay, I'll just show you here. So let's say we are given 1, 1, 2, right? Okay. So how are you solving this one? What are we trying to do here? Our eventual answer is 1, 1, 2. We are 1, 2, 1.
You actually have to share your screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 1, 1, 2. We are generating 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1, 1, right? So what? So we started from the root. What are your possible options here?
Okay. So you'll have 1, and then you will have 2, right? Yeah.
Here.
And then we'll have another 1 here, and we can have another 2 there. Yeah. And then again below for 1, 1. Oh yeah, there we have 1 again. Okay. This is 2, and here you don't have, and 2 you'll have 1. Yeah. And there you'll have 1.
Okay. So you got your answers here. 1, 1, 2. You got 1, 2, 1. You got 1. You got 2, 1, 1. Right? Okay. Now how did you figure out? Okay. Now how did you figure out there's only 1, 1 here? Basically, what have you seen here, right? This is going to be one DFS call.
That
right?
is with the indexes. Yeah. Okay.
Same. So you figure out, okay, what am I going to pass in my index? I'm going to use a screen of indexes.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So you solve this one, and at each level, what are you going to do?
You should have some set to actually put
again
them
visited.
there.
You're removing your duplicates. So in your single DFS call, that is what you do. If I not in scene and nums of I not in visited, you don't add it. That's all. That is so simple. And do you think if a candidate solve this in an onsite, you think he's ever going to miss this? Is he ever going to screw up in the first attempt? I hardly think so. This way you're able to do this. Now, right? So you got your 2, 1, 1, you got 1, 2, 1, you got 1, 1, 2. Now, if you change this to a subset problem, same thing, right? And sometimes you have to. Okay, I think someone said that they want to pass in an index also in the helper method, right? That also, always think what are you passing from your parent. If you're always trying to look at a index which is ahead of its parent, if this is I, I'm always going to look this, and I'm always going to use an index which is I plus 1. So if that is the case, then you understand, okay, what am I going to use from my parent? I'm going to use I. So that means in your DFS call, you're going to use I. That's all. That is the very quickest way to figure out what am I passing from my parent, and I'm going to pass it down to my children. Is that understood?
Yeah.
So just try all the questions with this technique, and this is the right technique to solve those permutations. After that, figure out, I mean, I'm guaranteed that eventually you'll come up with all your patterns or techniques or templates that you remember. Okay? Try to solve subset 1, 2, combination 1, 2, 3 with this technique. You'll love it.
Okay.
Okay. So
yeah,
I think now we don't have time to go over all the questions. So basically, I just put down the question numbers so that you guys can actually solve this. Okay, and maybe I've also put down my Slack group channel. Maybe you guys can join it and let me know if you have done it with this technique. If you've tried it. If you didn't, we'll work on it together, and then I'll help you to build. I'll help you to solidify that method. Okay.
So you can finish off with going with again, like what is the base case? Start with the base case and then just like a key summary of what you did today.
He wants to recap.
Okay, so basically,
like base case, then creation of the.
So this is basically your template.
Your scribble, please. Yeah.
So basically, this is your if base case, right? Append your result. Right? So this is your base case for every DFS method. This is going to be a base method, which is in which you have to figure out when you are going to add your result. This could be anything. If your length of the buffer is exactly length of the nums, that may be one thing. Or if you always want to add, you can just remove this add. You can always append your result, right? And next thing is for candidate in candidates. Right, so now you're iterating on that level. If candidate is I think a viable solution, or a viable is a viable candidate, right?
The set on the level. Okay.
You then you call your helper method. So basically, this will be basically this is not exactly your subset. This is not your backtracking, but there's one more step here wherein if DFS makes sense, you return true. I mean for our subsets problems, we don't use if condition or return true, but there are some cases in which you're trying to go from the S and you're going to the E. You're trying to figure out if there's a way. You do a DFS call, and if it makes sense, if this DFS returns true, you return true, right? Or else you return false. And also, if DFS makes sense, here also you're trying to make this DFS, right? You're also trying to make sure that you undo whatever your DFS call actually did. Is this a good enough recap?
Praveen?
I mean, I assume this is good. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just note down these questions so that you guys can try, and then we'll end up, right? So 1079. We have 78, 90, 39. I'm noting down in Scribble also. If you want to like screenshot it, or you have 40. I think this is going to be okay. These are tough problems. Some might have. Okay, I'll just say one more thing. 46, 47, 22. Okay, one more thing, guys. Okay. Also, once you've drawn the tree, okay, now what is DP? What is dynamic programming? If you have drawn the tree, and let's say you start from the root, this is your first DFS call, right? Before DFS call, nothing is going to call, right? Let's say by doing this DFS call, you land up at a node, right? And let's say you're actually using this DFS call again. If you figure out, okay, by using a DFS call, I'm going to use this DFS call again. Say, that means you're actually reusing a result which you're actually used, right? So that means there's nothing but your DB. You save it in your memo table, just reuse it.
Okay.
That's all. So once you backtrack, so DP is nothing but backtracking with memoization. And backtracking with memoization, nothing means but tree with some nodes being repeated. And when you say nodes are being repeated, that actually means that your method call is being repeated. And if you remember your DFS call, right, it has bunch of it has also your scene set, right? If you figure out that a DFS call is being repeated, I mean that also has a scene. I mean that has the same scene, same scene. You save it somewhere because here this one and this one, they're not same, even though they're the same nodes, but they're not the same because they have they have same different properties that they're inheriting from the parent. So they're not actually the same children or the same nodes, right? So once you visualize how to draw the tree, you can convert any, you can for any DP problem, you'll be able to figure out DP is nothing but you just save your results of your nodes into an array and reuse it again. And for that, this template, right? The template I wrote, it will not change much. Where did it go? Before your base case, all you have to figure out if you have seen that node before, if you have seen, you return that. Is at the end here, you add it and you add it to your memo table. That's all. So it's going to be so simple. So now solve those questions, and there might be a DP problem here and there. Try to figure out how to use a tree to visualize them. Since right now, if you're in that practicing mode, this will actually help you. If you're trying to interview in, like, say, 3 months, if you do this technique, practice this so many times that after 2 months, you don't even have to draw this technique on the board. You just have to visualize a tree in your head and you're done. Your interview will be like amazed. How the hell did this guy come up with this such a simple solution first try itself? Okay, so now assume backtracking is done for you. Like, next session, if I do, I try this problem also, word search 2, 1, and word break. I mean, it's tough to get these questions right at the first attempt, but try to see how that is getting converted into a tree to build up, and try to figure out how can you solve these questions in the first attempt itself, or maybe 2. That should be your goal. Okay. So, so now, any questions, any feedback, anything?
No, feedback is just, it was